Welcome to today's vlog. We are going to be running through how to create the perfect 3-day-a-week split. This is just going to be a very stripped back vlog. This isn't going to be edited, etc, etc. We are mainly here for the goal of making a program, right? So what do we need the program to be? What do we need the program? How do we want the program to be structured? How can we structure this in a way that we can maximize hypertrophy? Well, we need to be hitting the muscle groups at least twice per week. That is our main goal. That is what the literature is stating. We do not want to hit like, let's just say for example, like a chest day, a back day, a leg. We need this to be very, very efficient. We need to hit as much muscle groups as possible in one day. So we're going to train the muscle group at least twice per week. We need the movements also to have a high raw stimulus magnitude whilst keeping an eye on our axial and lumbar fatigue. So basically we don't want to hit our back, or we don't want to be loading movements that are going to be loading the back too much. We're going to get injured. Also, when we load the back, we are systemically fatigued, which is basically like a whole body fatigue, right? So that's what we need to do as well. So we just need to keep an eye on that. We also need the program to integrate progressions. The beauty of gaining muscle, we need to be progressively overloading in the gym. So we need it to be integrating progressions as well, which is very easy. So let's just say, for example, a 3-day-a-week split. A typical 3-day-a-week split will be a full body workout, right? We're just going to get a little bit more technical here, and we're going to say that we're going to have a full body 3 times per week, but we are going to integrate these, or we're going to split them up and say these are going to be a push, these are going to be legs, and they're going to be a pull focus. That's 3 days, right? So we're going to do a full body, but they're going to be prioritizing them 3. So each time we go into the gym, we're going to be prioritizing one of them. So let's just say, for example, we go for a chest movement. We can really nail it on the first day, right? We've got that push focused workout, so we can really nail this in the first day. So we can nail it on the first day. We can then maybe leave it for day 2 and then hit it again on day number 3. That would be obviously working the muscle twice per week. We can have one that really hits it very, very nicely. We get the second hit at the back end of the week where we basically just move it down on the exercise selection order, just because we are going to be prioritizing another muscle group. But nonetheless, we're going to be hitting that muscle group twice per week. We can then go on to maybe legs. We can hit it maybe on the first day, but maybe it could be kind of further down on the exercise list or the exercise order, and then we can hit it very, very nicely on the second day. And again, for like the pull session or the back session, we can really maybe even train these on day 1 and day 2, and then really nicely hit it on the day number 3. And for back, we can mainly hit these a little bit harder because it's just a bigger muscle group. So basically we can have like maybe a lat focus session, we could have like maybe like a rhomboid focus session, and then maybe have like a lat and rhomboid session at the back end of the week. So without further ado, let's build your program. Let's build this program to make it optimal for hypertrophy, alongside anecdotal experience from me coaching many clients, and also in line with literature. So on day number 1, we're going to have this as a pushed focus workout. So we can hit, straight off the bat, we can hit like 2 exercises. Mainly, I don't really like programming over around 9 exercises. It's just a little bit too much, especially for a 3-day-a-week split. So our main aim here is to make sure that we have no more than 9 exercises here. So straight off the bat, because it's a push focused workout, what we're going to do, mainly push focus, is going to be chest focused. What we're going to do straight off the bat is just hit chest and chest. We can do this in a horizontal plane, and then we can do this in a fly motion. We can basically have it as a chest compound, then we can have it as a chest isolation straight off the bat. So that's hitting chest once per week. We can then go for a kind of a vertical pull, which is going to be our lat focus portion of our back, right? And then we can hit maybe quads, which is going to cover our quads. We can hit hamstrings, which is obviously going to cover hamstrings. We can then go for a bicep, tricep, and then we can go for a kind of a delt movement, and then we can go for abs. That would be a really cool way to structure our first push session. Our second session is going to be full body. This is going to be a quad focus session. Now bear in mind, we hit it on the first day. We do really need a rest day in between here. We don't want to be hitting quads and then the next day be hitting quads again really, really hard. We kind of want, we've hit our quads, we kind of want to just have a rest day and then we have quads again and then potentially have a rest day before the legs and the pull focus full body session. So with the leg session, we can have quad. We can then go for an kind of a hamstring exercise. Again, mainly this doesn't have to be something that's actual loading, so we can do things maybe like a leg curl or something of this ilk or this kind, just so we can basically just take care of our lumbar. We don't want to be hitting something like maybe quad. We don't want to be hitting like a squat and then a squat and then like an RDL. We want to be kind of saving this, so we could do things like a leg extension to pre-fatigue the quads. We can then go on to a leg press. We could then go on to something like a seated leg curl. That would make sense in terms of programming here. Next up, we can go for a rear delt fly, which would be a side delt or rear delt focused movement. We can then hit biceps and triceps. Again, these are very small muscle groups. You could potentially hit these 3 times per week. In this instance, we actually are going to do that. And then as established, we're going to be hitting our back again. So we're going to do this in a horizontal plane. We did hit a lat focused movement in day 1. We can hit a horizontal movement in day 2. And then in day 3, what we'll do is basically do both. But here we can do something like a machined row or a cable low row, just something that's not very axial loading. And then we can just tag on something like calves at the end. That would be quite a good quad focused full body day. Again, we have a rest day between days 2 and day 3 because we don't want to be hitting all of these muscle groups. And then again, the day after, we don't want to be hitting them straight after that. You're just going to be very, very sore. So we have a rest day in between, and this is going to be our pull focused session. So again, off the bat is going to be a lat focused movement, a vertical plane movement, something like a wide grip pull up, for example. That'll be very cool here. And then we go to a horizontal movement, which is going to be like a seal row or something of this kind, or maybe a dumbbell row. Again, keeping an eye on our lumbar. Then we could hit biceps. We could then hit delts. So biceps and delts right here are getting hit 3 times per week. The delts are going to be hitting a medial delt, they're going to be hitting a rear delt on the second day, and then a medial delt again. So side, rear, side. We're not really going to be working our front delt just because with pressing movements we're going to get that hit quite nicely. So then we move on to hamstrings. We would then go on to our chest portion of the workout. Again, we hit it on day number 1. We're going to hit it further down the exercise selection list on day number 3. And then we're going to finish off with triceps, and then you can throw in something like abs or calves at the very end of this session. Now that's the main frame of this program done. That's just a very easy program for you to follow. Next up we have our sets. Now if we basically just have all of these sets, total 6 working sets per muscle group, this will be a very good start, just so you don't get so like very, very sore in the first week. Once you have completed the first week, we can then add accordingly if you need to. Key indicators such as muscle soreness would indicate that we're kind of doing our job. You kind of don't warrant more added sets. So 6 total sets is probably enough for you. If you are not sore, you're not getting a pump, you could probably benefit from a little higher volume. But as stated, start with 6 sets per muscle group. Next up we have training intensity. Now Lich just stating that we need to be training within 0 to 4 reps in reserve. I advise for the most part everybody to start at 2 reps in reserve, and then as we progress throughout the mesocycle, throughout the training block, this training intensity would naturally go up. So if, for example, you started the mesocycle at 100 kilograms for 10 reps, if you continually beat that, by definition, your training intensity is going to go up. So again, my advice is to train with 2 reps in reserve. You could probably get away with 0 reps in reserve for things like biceps, things like triceps, and things like delts. The amount of fatigue you're going to generate from smaller muscle groups isn't that much, so we could actually just do that. So let's just set in the framework: 2 reps in reserve for compound movements and 0 reps in reserve for isolation work. Now when we talk about rep ranges, we really want to be working the muscle groups in the appropriate rep ranges. For example, if we're doing like a chest portion, we can really work this in kind of all rep ranges. If we're doing something like biceps, we kind of want to be working it in a higher rep range. For delts, probably a higher rep range. So we'll just go through each and every single one here. So for the chest portion, on the first day, we probably want to be working it in an 8 to 12 rep range with the isolation after that. in a slightly higher rep range just to cover our bases here. For the vertical pull, we want to be working this in an 8 to 12 rep range. For the quads, we want to be working in a slightly lower rep range, which would be a 6 to 8 or a 7 to 10 rep range. We also have the hamstring movement here in an 8 to 12 rep range. We have the biceps in a 10 to 20 rep range. We have the triceps in a 10 to 20 rep range. We have the delts in a 10 to 20 rep range, and abs are in a 10 to 20 rep range. So that is day number 1. Day number 2, we have the quads in an 8 to 12 rep range. We then have the next quad movement in a 15 to 20 rep range. We then have the hamstring portion in a 15 to 20 rep range. Rear and side delts are going to be moved into a 10 to 20 rep range. Biceps in a 10 to 20 rep range. Triceps in an 8 to 12 rep range. Horizontal pull in a 8 to 12 rep range, and calves in a 10 to 20 rep range. So that is day number 2. Day number 3, we can hit the lats in a very heavy rep range just because it's a big muscle group, so that's going to be in a 7 to 10 rep range. Horizontal pull is going to be in an 8 to 12. Biceps are going to be in an 8 to 12. Side delts is going to be in a 10 to 20 rep range. Chest portion is going to be in a 10 to 20 rep range, and tricep is also going to be in a 10 to 20 rep range. Now, when we speak about progressive overloading models here, we could either progressively overload via beating the sheet via reps or load. Beating the sheet via reps and reserve. So if you start at 2 reps in reserve, if you go to 1 reps in reserve the week after, that's progressive overload. If our form gets better, that is progressive overload. And if our range of motion increases within this mesocycle or training block, that is a form of progressive overload as well. So they are the 4 forms of progressive overload we are going to have in this program. And that is how to build your own 3-day-a-week split. That's done. You can take this program and make crazy gains. If you enjoyed the start of this vlog, make sure you check out the other vlogs. Make sure you like, you share, and you subscribe, and I will speak to you very soon.